Om Namah Shivaya. So we are very honored to continue the program on the Madhuvidya with Swamini Svatmavidyananda. So let's welcome her.
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 अयमात्मा सर्वेषां भूतानां मधु अस्य आत्मनः सर्वाणि भूतानि मधु यश्चायम् अस्मिन्नात्मनि तेजोमयः अमृतमयः पुरुषः यश्चायमात्मा तेजोमयः अमृतमयः पुरुषः अयमेव सः यो अयम् आत्मा आत्मा इदम् अमृतम् idam brahma idam sarvam. The delineation between the I and the not I comprises a very important aspect of opening to this vidya, opening to this understanding. And one might wonder how and why this distinction is important, especially when the whole point is non-duality, when the whole point is to understand that you are non-separate from everything. Why do I have to separate? This is one of the many paradoxes of Vedanta. One has to separate because there is a mix up. If there were no mix up, there is no need to separate. I am Atma Brahma. This Atma is Brahman. If everybody understood that, then, you know, all the swamis will be out of a job. Okay, so this is so therefore there is a mix up, and because the I is mixed up in the not I, as we saw in the last session, one confuses oneself as a doer, as a thinker, as a knower, as identifies with everything finite. And said, therefore, in this identification with the finite, the infinite is missed. And the missing the infinite is an infinite loss. Losing the infinite is an infinite loss, because of which one is constantly in the place of a seeker. One must not be a permanent seeker. Better to seek the permanent than to be a permanent seeker. That is what the whole thing is. And because of this mix up, we have to separate. What is this I? The I is that which indwells the body, mind, sense complex. We are seeing in the first line of the mantra. And the I is that which indwells not only this body, mind, sense complex, but all the bodies, all the minds, all the complexes. And this individual, full of complexes, nobody loves me, nobody cares for me, is this Atma I that is described in the Upanishad, that is going to be described in the second line very soon as Tejomayaha, Amritamayaha, Purushaha, a being of light, a self revealing being. And so, therefore, to arrive at the I, which is in fact the observer of everything that we say anatma, not I, becomes very important. And that's why the first line of the mantra says, Sarvesham Bhutanam Madhu. That which is delectable, that which is sweet, that which is endless, limitless, that which is Ananda. Everything, that alone is the I. So the Satchidananda, everything is Satchidananda, and that Satchidananda alone is I, obtaining, as it were, in this body mind sense complex. So this is only half the job done, because in the pursuit of non-duality you cannot leave a distinction hanging, I and not I. As I said in the previous class, that this will cause dissociation. This will cause dissociation. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. I am not the mind, I am not the buddhi, the intellect, I am not the ego, I am not the emotions. न च श्रोत्र जिह्वे न च घ्राण नेत्रे. I am not the sense organs, and I am not the five elements that have given rise to this body mind complex. न च व्योम भूमिः न तेजो न वायुः. But you cannot leave it there. What is the conclusion? Chidananda Rupah Shivoham Shivoham. I am the Chidananda. Means Satchidananda. That is my Swarupa. That has to be understood. And in the light of that, abiding in that Satchidananda, then the other things can be cognitively separated. You cannot really separate it, because this is not about having an out of body experience. We have enough of those in the daily life, so let us not bring it into the spiritual realm as well. So this is about the delineation, a cognitive understanding to arrive at that self evident I, which is the bread and butter of the Vedanta Shastra. So therefore, Ayam Atma Sarvesham Bhutanam Madhu. And then the next line, Asya Atmanah, for this I, which I, the one who knows this. So the next Atmanah, sixth case, for this I, is the one who is a Jnani, the one who has full understanding of this. Sarvani Bhutani Madhu. For that person, there is no distinction between the I and the not I. So you kind of separate in order to understand the unity of it all. Very interesting methodology here. So this is called Atma Anatma Prakriya, the methodology of delineation between the I and the not I, only to come to this profound understanding that the not, that which we call not I resolves into the I, because nothing is separate from the I. What about the I? The I also resolves into the not I. No. The I is irresolute. It simply is, and it lends its satta means existence, spurti its sentience. Satta spurti pradanena, by lending as it were its existence and its sentience, it lights up the entire world of not I. And then when you delineate this, when you understand this, then everything is just I alone. So the whole Jagat shines in borrowed feathers of the Atma. Three feathers: Sat, Chit, Ananda. Like even the crow that has gate crashed into the annual peacock convention. This is an ancient story that has been a little bit updated, that's all. So the annual peacock convention is going on. And then, the crow looks inside and sees all the peacocks dancing happily. And the crow is very envious. Oh, I want to go. But then there is a guard at the gate. And then there is a board. Only peacocks allowed. Crows are very intelligent. And what did the crow do? The crow said, "Oh, this is easily done. This is not a big deal." And then it looked around. When they were dancing, some feathers had been dropped. The peacocks had dropped some of their feathers. And then it went to the shop and got some glue and then put a few feathers on itself, and then entered into the peacock convention. And if the security guard thought this was a pretty strange looking peacock, he was trained, to not say anything, because all this, no body shaming and sensitivity, all this he had taken some training, and so he did not say anything. Okay, this is a strange looking, differently abled peacock, and he let it into the convention. And the crow had a wonderful time. It danced along with the peacocks, even on its short legs. And then, nobody said anything. They thought, okay, very, funny looking peacock. Okay, this is also there in Bhagavan's Jagat. They thought, and they let it be. And then The more it danced, as you can guess what happened, the feathers fell off one by one. And then it was pecked out of the convention. So, this is how everything shines in borrowed feathers, borrowed from the eye. The not I, therefore, is an extension of the I, because I lend my presence, I lend my existence to everything that is. And unlike the ending of the story, I don't peck anything away from me because everything is me. So the not me is an iffy existence. The whole world of anatma depends on the atma for its very existence and not the other way around. The whole world of anatma depends on atma. It is a dependent reality. It is an important reality because it is an empirical reality. We do not deny or dismiss that hunger, thirst, food, running, sitting, eating, we don't dismiss this. We don't say, oh, somebody else is eating. We don't need to go through that, the kind of a self denial. All this is affirmed, but from the standpoint of an all encompassing reality in which this little play of eating, drinking, going, fighting, sleeping, all that is taking place, studying, etc. So the whole world of the transactional reality is an as though reality. Yes, it has a certain, we affirm it to a certain extent because it is experiential, it is experienced. Hunger, thirst is experienced, hurt and guilt are experienced, so that this experiential reality is there. But this experiential reality draws its sustenance from that all encompassing Atma. It depends on that. If the Atma were to withdraw its sentience and existence, then this reality would collapse immediately. So, the empirical reality where we spend most of our time, most of our lives, is an as though projection of the Atma, and it has a very iffy status. It can be, it can neither be completely affirmed nor be denied. Nothing in this reality can be affirmed. If you look at the tree, what is the tree? Oh, it has come out of the seed. Then is the seed real? No, no, no. The seed has come out of another tree. Is another tree real? No, no, no. That has come out of yet another tree. And then we keep on going. Same like chicken and egg. But since we are vegetarians, I don't like to use the chicken and egg metaphor. So tree and seed is the same thing. Okay. So then, so, so therefore, this is the same exact situation happening here. Nothing can be affirmed. Like even the shirt that you're wearing, it's not the reality, it's not the truth. Why? The shirt that you're wearing, if I withdraw the fabric, there will be no shirt. Oh, what if I make a shirt out of what is that called, plastic, like a rain shirt? Yeah, you withdraw the plastic, then there will be no shirt. Without the material, it doesn't exist at all. Like even we have this, we have this pot. You withdraw the clay, the pot collapses. The weight of pot, weight of clay, color of pot, color of clay. Actually, it's not a pot. I'm hiding it. It's a teacup. Okay, but doesn't matter. It can function in different ways. So so this way we can see that this whole world of what we call manifest reality is heavily borrowing on for its existence on the eye. And the person who knows it is redeemed of all sorrow, all fear, primarily because of the fact that one sees that separation like the actor and the playing the role of a begging person. One sees that inner space. And that is why to study this, that is the importance of studying this. Everything is I am not any one thing. And this is what the person knows. And for in the second line, so asya atmanah, for this person who has understood this reality, the whole world is madhu, is honey, is as sweet as honey. The Jagat, the universe, does not become a place of complaint. The universe does not become a place of sorrow, something to be afraid of, a source of fear. And the whole universe means people, situation, events, things, time, place, everything. Nothing becomes a source of fear because everything is an extension of myself alone. Very beautiful, extremely beautiful to see this. So, for the jnani, for the person who knows this, asya atmanah, sarvani bhutani, from the five elements to a clump of grass, is all just an extension of oneself. And so, just like the left hand cannot fight with the right hand, they join together to say namaste. That's all they do. And so, like this, the whole world is embraced, just like the right hand does not fight with the left hand because it knows it's all one. The whole world is embraced in this greeting namaste. We have the essence of Vedanta. See, two hands, they are unlike. The dominant hand, we know, is stronger, and the dominant palm can be a little bigger than the other palm. Even the fingerprints do not match, they are completely different. And then what? Then you join them together. You don't make the differences disappear, but you see, you join the hands together to bow in front of a reality that is bigger than the apparent differences. You transcend the differences. How? Because you are viewing, you are having darshan of a reality that encompasses the differences and goes beyond it also. So, in this bow, there is surrender, there is acceptance, and along with the surrender comes the wonder of this Jagat. This Jagat is a great wonder. How come all these things can coexist? How come this happens? And every time you see this, some new scientific thing, some inroads and some new discoveries, you are at a loss to explain how is this possible. This is such a wonder. And for the jnani, that wonder, reveling in the wonder, is itself a very big surrender. It's just amazing. So, asya atmanah, sarvani bhutani madhu, there is no conflict. What is there to fight against? When there is acceptance, there is no conflict. And then when there is a sense of security centered on the self, knowing that one is everything, there is nothing to wonder. So, then the next line, yascha ayam asmin atmani. Why? The reason is given in the next line. So, why is it for the jnani there is no, everything is sweet? Whereas for the ajnani, the one who doesn't know, everything is bitter, everything is resentful, bitter, and difficult, and every day is a bad day, sad day. And if it's not a bad day or a sad day, it's definitely a mad day. And so, why is it for everybody else it is like this? But for the jnani, it is just sweetness everywhere the person looks. There is just that fullness of oneself that is contacted in each and everything. The answer is given in the third line. Asmin Atmani, because that jnani does not see the, the differences. That jnani is as it were blinded to the differences, the apparent differences in the apparent reality, which is in Sanskrit called mithya. Remember, it's not non-existent. It is got an iffy existence. It is borrowing the Satchidananda, Satchidanandatvam, it is borrowing its existence from the Atma, which was, which was described earlier as Satyam Jnanam Anantam Satchidatma Satchidananda, limitless, whole, sentient. It's borrowing that. So it has an iffy existence which can neither be affirmed, like your shirt, nor be dismissed. And so, therefore, the jnani understands one thing. I am asmin atmani. That in this here atma doesn't mean atma. Here it means in this body mind sense complex, there is an entity which obtains as I. So, the indweller of this body mind sense complex, the nature of this indweller is going to be addressed here. So, in the individual body mind sense complex, there is something that obtains as I, which is beyond the mind, beyond the senses, because the senses are themselves an object of an object of observation. The mind is objectified. So here we are talking of the witness, the unaffected witness of the body mind sense complex. Why do I say unaffected? It is unaffected simply because that which is the observer is capable of observing something because there is inner space. Like even speed. If two trains are there, or if two planes are there, who are and one in each bay. This happened to me once. I was sitting next to the window seat, traveling from somewhere to somewhere, and my aircraft was parked at the gate. At the very next gate was an identical aircraft whose time of departure arrived a few minutes before mine did. And that plane started to move back up. And since my plane was stationary, I could appreciate and sense the movement of the other plane. This did not last very long, because very soon my plane also started to back out of the gate. And then I was confused. Who is moving? Who is stationary? This is exactly like how it is with the Atma, except that the Atma is not backing out. The Atma is same, Nitya, Sthanuhu, in one place, unmoving, unchanging Atma. It watches everything taking off, including one's anger and all the landings, and it is unaffected by that. So even to sense movement, the standpoint from which the movement is sensed has to be stationary. So that unchanging I, the more I identify with, the greater is the freedom, the greater is the clarity. And this Jagat becomes, the sweeter is this Jagat, the more I am in the truth of the indweller of the body mind sense complex, who is not trapped in the body. Even like the pot space is not trapped inside the pot, or I should say cup space is not trapped inside the cup. It doesn't have to go like this. It doesn't have to break the cup, the space, in order to be free. In fact, the space is not in the cup is in space. We can say space is always free. Same thing, the space like Atma is there, which informs this body mind sense complex, which blesses this body mind sense complex to act, to study, to teach, to move, to eat, to drink, to enjoy whatever experiences are there. But the core of oneself is unaffected by what one observes. And the I, the Atma described here, is the only thing that does not come under the category of those things that can be objectified. The Atma is not an object. The subject, I, can never be objectified. The subject is never subject to objectification. So then, Asmin Atmani, in this body mind sense complex, there is an entity, a conscious entity here called Purusha. The word Purusha is very important. In Sanskrit, it has two derivations. The first derivation is Purishete iti Purushaha. Puri means in the citadel, actually in the city, but here we should call it a citadel because the body mind sense complex is being talked about. Sleeping in the citadel. Why sleeping? Not awakened to the truth of the self. Identifying with everything that is moving, and therefore unable to have a sense of self, a sense of bearing that is in keeping with the truth of the I, keeping in truth of the Shastra. So therefore, there is suffering, therefore there is confusion, therefore there is a wrong identity. Misidentification is the problem. This is the first meaning of the word Purusha. For the Ajnani, this is the Purusha. Purishete, Purishayanam. See, the one who is sleeping in the citadel. Why citadel? Because this body is a fortress. You cannot come out, and then there is all these, the eyes are there, the ears are there, they are little portholes to the Jagat. But you can't really come out except at Bhagavan's will. So, therefore, sleeping, the sleep of ignorance in the city of this body mind sense complex, in this fortress, tightly shut off from everything else, and therefore grieving because sleeping the sleep of anadi avidya, an ignorance without a beginning. So then what? So then there is another derivation. Thankfully, there is another derivation for the word Purusha. What is that derivation? Sarvan Purayati iti Purushaha. That which fills up everything. That which is the filling in everything, the sweet filling in all the pastries. I mean, the pastries are nama rupa of the jagat, and the sweet filling is this atma tattva, this atma here called Purusha. Without the filling, the pastry is not even worth eating. It's boring. So, this is the sweet filling in everything. Madhu, Madhu, Madhu. And so, therefore, this is what has to be understood. The journey is nothing short of uh, going from the first Purusha to the one who feels trapped and completely imprisoned in the body mind sense complex and in this Jagat, not of one's making, to understanding that I am that which flows as everything, I am that which gives sustenance to everything, I am that who is free of everything. That is the journey. So if you say Purushah Purushaha, it is a Mahavakya. The first one talks about the miserable Jiva, the second one talks about Brahman Ishvara. In fact, the one sleeping in the city, awakened to the Vedanta Shastra, is what? Understands the truth of oneself. Understands the truth of oneself as the second Purusha. In fact, there is only one Purusha. The Purusha that is trapped in the Jiva is a spin off of a parallel reality because of free will, and that comes to wrong conclusion. The mistake is removed. So here, this conscious entity is the Purusha. Same word comes in many Upanishads. Angushthamatrah Purushah madhye atmani tishtati. ईशानो भूतभव्यस्य ततो न विजुगुप्सते एतद् वै तत् कठोपनिषद. It says that in the heart of every body mind sense complex there is a small small Purusha. One meaning, small means it has to one has to sort of have, at least for the sake of upasana, locate it oneself somewhere. Angushta matra means thumb like. What is this thumb like Purusha? Very interesting. Excuse me. The thumb like Purusha is, the shallow meaning is the size of a thumb. superficial meaning. Just like a small Purusha, small version of that cosmic Bhagavan, which is everything, is obtained is sensed in the body mind sense complex for the sake of contemplation, worship, understanding, etc. But a deeper meaning of the word Angushta Matra is like the thumb in its asangatvam. Asangatvam means in its non involvement. You see, the root of these four fingers, very, they come from one source. And the hand becomes a very nice place for Vedantic sign language. This is the accusatory finger, accusative finger. You are at fault, it's your fault, you, or oh no, it is me. It blames itself and everyone else. This is the body mind sense complex to which this I notion, ahankara, is very much attached, very much inextricably linked. But Angushta Matra means Angushta Sadrisham, like even the thumb that is separate from the rest of the fingers. But without the presence of the thumb, you cannot pick up even a pencil from the ground. You are groping. It cannot function. The hand cannot function. So, like this Purusha, even though it informs the body mind sense complex, is separate from the travails of the body mind sense complex. And that's why we can have the Jnana Mudra Tattvamasi. This fellow is made to bend. First, the thumb is made, the forefinger is made to bend, and then it touches that. And you are the whole. You are limitless. You are free. This is the teaching. And so here, this Purusha who is already uninvolved, doesn't need to become uninvolved, is as though mixed up with everything, but not really mixed up. And what is the nature of the Purusha is described in line number 4. Tejo Mayaha, like the sun, self lit, without any blemish. In fact, if you look at the sun closely, there will be certain blemishes, certain areas which are burnt out, but not this Atma. Self lit, without any blemish whatsoever. Tejo Mayaha. Mayaha means full of itself, nothing other than itself. Swarthe Mayat Pratyayaha. Swarthe. So, in its own sense. So, then this suffix Maya means many things. It can even mean modification, but that should not be taken here. It's not modification, it is itself alone. Then, Tejomayaha, Amritamayaha. Amrita means not subject to finitude, never comes to an end. This Purusha always is. And that's very easy to see. Anything that you say, pot is, cup is, lid is, clay is, astiti upalabhyate. Everything is evident as is. But what if the cup breaks? Oh no! The pot is broken. What do we have now? Crackpot. So, crackpot is. And then, we take it take it to a shop and get it all glued up. Joined pot is, cracked pot is. Even if we want to say pot is not, we are still constrained to use the word is. That is Amritamaya. And what kind of an is? A conscious is. An is that is all knowledge. Whatever you see in the universe is just one endless knowledge, one endless flow of knowledge. Knowledge, because everything that you codify and then you objectify as existent is as good as what you know about it. Flower. What is flower? Flower is. And then flower, I know the name of this flower. This many petals. This is the name. This is the form. This is how it behaves. This is the season of its blossoming. This is how long it lasts. Rose, rose means what? Not very long lasting, especially if you pick a wild rose which doesn't has not been hybridized, or done something to it. So the rose is has maybe a 3 day span once it is cut off from the thing, bush. So that is what it is. That's why it's called rose. It has to be refreshed. Rose, rose. Rose means in in Hindi it means every day. So that is the rose. And then you have carnation. And what is the carnation? It lasts a long time. You put it in water and it lasts a long time. In fact, it's not a carnation, it's an incarnation. Okay, yeah, it's an incarnation of Bhagavan, it's a manifestation of Bhagavan. And then it has some serrated edges for all the petals. All this is knowledge. Flower is, when I say, it means flower knowledge is. The flower knowledge cannot be separated from the existence of the flower. And how long does this knowledge is last? Forever. No, you just said rose lasts for one day. In that particular form. Budding rose is, blossoming rose is, blossomed rose is, wilted rose is, withered rose is. You see, is. Composted rose is. Another rose bush growing out of this compost is. Name and form changes, is stays forever. And that is what is talked about here. Amritamayaha Purushaha. And then and so if this is understood, that the I is a Purusha, is a conscious being, is Bhagavan that fills up everything. Or you can take the Purusha here as that consciousness which is not connected to anything in the body mind sense complex, which is thereby not affected by anything. Tejomayaha Amritamayaha Purushaha. Tejomayaha means all light, all knowledge. There is nothing that is away from it. Everything becomes evident to it, including one's own ignorance. If you say, I am ignorant, that is actually a knowledgeable statement. Because then I'll ask, how do you know? I know, I don't know. And that I know is an ontological I know. It's a reality statement. And that I know never becomes I don't know. There is no lesha, not even a touch of ignorance. That is why it is tejo maya. It is all light, it is all bright, and ultimately, if you know it, you are all right. That is the idea. And then, so tejo maya, amrita maya, that which never comes to an end, is this I. And this I is Purusha. What is this Purusha? The first Purusha, the one that is sleeping the sleep of ignorance. Indeed, is what? In the next line, Yascha ayam atma tejo mayaha amritamayaha Purushaha. This indeed is that Mahavakya. Mahavakya here is being unfolded. But first, we'll briefly see the definition of what is a Mahavakya. Jiveshwarayoho Aikyam Vakyam. That which a sentence which unfolds, a pithy sentence that unfolds the oneness between the miserable jiva and the all-knowing, omniscient, or ever-present Satchidanandam Brahma, which is Ishvara. The equation is not between jiva and consciousness or awareness. No, because jiva is awareness, we know that. We can arrive at that without the Shastra. But for the next step, we need the Shastra, we need the Upanishad to reveal the fact that this awareness that is obtaining in this body, that is recognized in the mind and the senses, is nothing but that conscious being who is the source of the universe. For this, we need the Shastra to unfold that, which is exactly what it is doing. This is the Mahavakya, the equation between Ishvara and the Jiva. That alone is the Mahavakya. And here the Mahavakya is being delivered in a very nice, ingenious way. Same identity. You see the third line, Yascha ayam atmani tejomayah amritamayah purushah. And then the fourth line, Yascha ayam atma tejomayah amritamayah purushah. Same. This is the identity. So, as soon as you can delineate within yourself that I that is unaffected by the body, mind, sense complex, by the Jagat, by other beings, by anything that I encounter, that is called Tvam Pada Vichara, an inquiry into the you. You means I. If I say you say I. That is what it is. So the inquiry into the word Tvam in the Mahavakya Tattvamasi. Tvam Pada Vichara. And what does this enquiry yield? It yields a being that is separate from anatma, separate from everything that one can objectify, and the one that is secure, free, and the one that is awareness itself. That conscious being, who is all awareness, who is the witness of the body, mind, sense complex, and the rest of the jagat, is what obtains in the Tvam Pada Vichara. Then the same thing has to be done on the other side of the equation, because the two at the face value do not match at all. Tattvamasi, tat means what? Oh, Jagat Karanam Brahma, the cause of the universe, Ishvara, everything, all equated with the small. And this God, equated with the Jiva who is at best odd. This is what is, it doesn't make sense. How can I be Ishvara? Ishvara can do so many things. Ishvara can create the whole universe. What can I create other than just a little bit of confusion? That's all I create. That's all I'm capable of creating. And that's where the confusion lies. So it is like an equation. To resolve the equation, special care must be taken to unpack each side and to understand the underlying identity between the two. Not a simple job. And so, therefore, we have spent the last few classes unpacking the Tvam meaning the word you. What is this you? The one that obtains, as it were, in the body mind sense complex, like even pot space is recognizable in the pot. But that I is not affected by anything. That I is the witness of everything. That is what we have finished doing thus far. Now, what do we have to do? We have to understand what is this Tat Pada? What is the word Tat? What does it mean? Who is this Ishvara? We have to unpack not Ishvara, but Ishvaratvam, Ishvara-ness, Ishvara-hood. We are in the process of unpacking. And so the first unpacking is in understanding that the undeniable nature of Ishvara is the same Tejomayah, Amritamayah, Purushah. Same. We have seen this already. So, of the nature of light, meaning not a whiff of ignorance, all knowing Tejomayah. And then what? Amritamayah, unending, without a beginning, without an end, immortal, endless. Purushah, that which fills up everything, Purushah. And so, Purusha means that which is separate from everything, that which fills up everything. And so, thereby, the identity of the Jiva and Ishvara at the level of Satyam Jnanam Anantam, or Sat Chit Ananda, that we have seen in detail, is hereby established. Oh, so I am the same as Ishvara? Yes, seen from the standpoint of that existence, awareness, consciousness, and that endlessness. You are the one and the same as Ishvara. So the first definition of Ishvara is the same as the definition of the Jiva after dropping everything that is finite. The same thing that obtains is the same definition of Ishvara also. This is what in technical parlance is called Swarupa Lakshana. Lakshana means indicatory words. Words that indicate this Atma Tattva in the form that informs the Jiva, that informs Ishvara. That Satchidananda, these are not words that describe Brahman really. They are not adjectival to Brahman, just like big, blue, fragrant lily. Big, blue, fragrant lotus. So there are many lotuses. If I say, bring me a lotus, you will ask me, which lotus? Big one. There are many big ones. Which one do you want? Big blue one. Oh, there are many big blue ones. Which one do you want? Big blue, fragrant one. Then that clinches it. So the word Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam or Sat Chit Ananda, which means the same thing, is not like big blue fragrant. They are not adjectival to Ishvara, adjectival to Jiva. They are referring to that same thing. Just like they are not adjectives, they are a definition of the truth of the I, Atma, and the truth of Bhagavan, Brahman. They are not, there is a difference between an adjective and a definition. An adjective tries to separate things in its own class. Tree, tall tree, short tree, leafy tree. This is what is adjective. But what is a definition? A definition is something like that which has treeness is a tree. It is unique to that particular thing. This is a definition. And if one could define Brahman, then it will become one more object in the universe. So the words Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam or Tejomayaha, Amritamayaha, Purushaha, they are not words that objectify the Atma or Brahman. What are they? They are words that indicate. They are like a signpost. They indicate Brahman. But that's enough, because Brahman, being self evident, doesn't need to be defined in the same way as an object is. It can neither be objectified nor can it be, nor can it be named or defined. And so we just need some indicatory words whose essence is understood as the truth of oneself. More we'll see in the next session. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thank you.